Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And for those who are watching from different time zones, good morning or good evening. My name is Marilyn. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions, or CTS Private Limited. And we are passionate about helping leaders and organizations who are continuous learners and action takers to transform and thrive by co-creating customized programs with the help of our world-class resources. We have served over 3,000 leaders from 30 countries in different industries, including Petronas, Sony Mobile, ProLife UK, Ayala Group, Chevron, Tencent, Jollibee Foods, and Shell, to name a few. And experts says that the pandemic will last for the next 4 to 5 years. This means we can't wait and do nothing. We have to adapt and pivot our strategies and processes. So, if you don't know how to stay relevant and adapt in the new normal, and if you find it stressful to lead and ensure performance of uh, of your team, of your remote team to be exact, and afraid that you can't keep your team and businesses, you are in the right place right now. And we are actually organizing interventions to help leaders stay relevant and lead effectively. And part of this is this interview. And it's, of course, my great pleasure to be able to have Stephanos, founder and CEO of Spatias Consulting Limited. Stephanos Papadopoulos has a finance and operations background, having worked in C-level and board level roles in several countries and industries throughout the world. Now acts as a consultant and coach to business owners. Stephanos helps business owners to reach their goals faster, bigger, and better. He does this through coaching and consulting. He creates bespoke projects based on the needs and priorities of the business owners. Services can vary from one to one sessions with the business owners to providing merger acquisition leadership to post merger integration coordination, to succession and continuity planning, to strategy review and making sure that the finances of the company are aligned with the strategic goals of the organization. He focuses on companies that have up to 150 million euro turnover per year, and he works hand in hand with business owners and their C-levels teams to reach their goals faster, bigger, and better. He acts like an independent thinking sparring partner where he challenges business owners. Oftentimes, successful business owners find that most people are eager to agree with them, that they do not find the resistance that they need in order to feel challenged. Stephanos provides that challenge, which helps the business owners to think differently and see the things that they would not see otherwise and find solutions that they would not find otherwise. So without so much further ado, I'd like to invite Stephanos. Hi, Stephanos. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for the invitation, Marilyn. It's a pleasure and an honor to have this chat with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanos. So we'll just go through and start with the interview. So
Sure.
yeah, first of all, we would like our audience to understand where you're coming from or your perspective. So please do share with us your leadership experiences and influence, why you lead this way.
So, I mean, the past 25, 26 years, having worked in several countries throughout the globe, I've had varying experiences with leadership styles from the so all ends of the spectrum, from very open and inclusive leaders
Mhm,
and very flat structure philosophy to
mhm,
the other end of very controlling and strict hierarchy, with not a lot of room for sharing your opinion.
mhm,
My strongest influences came from leaders who I worked with who really cared about the growth of their people,
mhm,
um, and that they cared as to how their people learned and recognize the value of having a strong team around them. At the same time, giving them opportunities to expose your team to new experiences, opportunities to make mistakes, take calculated risks, and then communicate and discuss, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we can do better, etc. I remember in the beginning of my career in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
when working with Coopers and Lybrand, then now obviously PwC.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a very strong culture of mentoring and training. So it was that kind of leadership that every new associate was assigned a mentor. And I mean, don't imagine there was a very experienced person. It was just, a person that was there for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And they really shared, even though they were also, similar age with the people that they mentored, the experiences that they gained the couple of years that they were there was very valuable, and they shared that experience with people coming in. So it was kind of an initiation in that kind of leadership where you help people grow, and there's a lot of emphasis on continuous training and teamwork. Yeah, I remember that, and that is still with me since then, and it's been 25 years almost since I started. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you're really one of the lucky leaders who were able to work with other leaders who really value the importance of their people, the growth, and continuous learning, and being able to make mistakes like what you've mentioned, and communications is really like a huge part of this, right? And
Okay.
so, having said that, from your experience, from the influence you got from the 26 years of having leadership role, what is leadership for you?
Leadership really, the more I grow into the global professional environment, it's really facilitation. So you're as leaders, what we really have to do, I believe, is facilitate the growth and the success of other people. So when and a good leader is one who cares about their team
Mm-hmm.
and who really helps them grow. And when the team grows, the company, organization, NGO, government, whatever the setup is, grows with it. So it's sort of a you when you facilitate the growth of people, there's a momentum that builds that carries the rest of the organization with this momentum. Um, so it's really helping people grow, helping understanding what the issues are, and that keeps people back from growing or keeps them from doing their job, helping them to remove the obstacles that is in the way of reaching their goals as a
Mm-hmm.
person and as a team and as a company that that extends to the organization, to the society in general, depending on what the team is
Mm-hmm.
working on. Obviously, holding them accountable, but in a sense that, training people to hold themselves accountable first. And then as a facilitator, by default, you will hold them accountable, but it's really instilling a culture that it would be coming from them, not from you.
Mm-hmm.
So if the person is accountable to themselves, then by default they would be accountable to their team, to their company, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So leadership really for me is facilitating people's success and facilitating people's growth.
Yes, thank you so much for that sharing. And I love that part where, because leaders supposed to create more leaders, and part of that is to be able to learn how to do so, right? To
Hmm.
let them grow, to let them succeed, like what you've shared earlier. So, um, moving on to another perspective in terms of, we're now living the new normal. So, how would you define or describe the next normal?
Yeah, that's a good question that keeps changing every day. So that that I mean the next normal is really being defined and redefined constantly. So it's in flux really. And I believe that, that's the key characteristic of the next normal, that is in constant change. So in order to be able to deal with something that is in flux, the key is really, flexibility, adaptability, and to try to see where things are going, how things are changing, but to really and try to understand the path, but really to accept that you're not going to be getting it right. I think that's a real learning for me, to accept that you're going to be wrong oftentimes, because there's so much, the changes are happening so rapidly. So if we take that, um, as if we accept that we're going to be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then you by default become more flexible, more agile, more quick to see if your vision and your strategy are still, viable, sustainable. If you have to, what kind of changes you have to make, when do you have to make the changes, and if you have the right tools to still be successful on the path that you set for yourself. And that needs flexibility, needs to be constantly re-educating ourselves, um, and just new ways of constantly reevaluating what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you're going to be changing what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing every day,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be very aware how relevant what you're doing is or is not, in this constant flux of environment.
Right, right. I totally agree with you on that. In this next normal, there's so much change, and you've mentioned, it's really fast, and it's all about being agile, flexible, and adaptable. To be able to adapt to that, constant change that we face. So now that we've defined, where, from which perspective you're coming from, what is leadership and what's the next normal. So I just wanted to understand from you. I mean, you've been a leader for the last 26 years, and you've been working with business owners and other leaders as well. So from your experience in that 26 years, um, what would you say is the top three problems that, leaders would normally face?
I mean, there's obviously a lot of challenges, but some of the common issues, that I see, especially lately,
Mm-hmm.
are three sort of pillars. One is, um, there's a misconception that when people become C-level executives or business owners or board members, the misconception is that most people think that, they made it, they don't need to do anything else, they're set. Um, but really, there's a lot of struggle going on internally, and also I find many leaders feeling isolated at the top. So that's one common theme that I've seen, especially as I've become a business owner myself, and having more interaction with fellow business owners and my clients, and other counterparties that have had businesses. So that's feeling isolated at the top is a common theme that I see, and a common challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what also I work on a daily basis, through coaching and consulting. Um, the other common theme that I see, in common challenge, is, um, the higher you up, the higher up you go, the higher leaders find, the tougher they find it to really build trust, and to have really trusting relationships with people around them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's another common challenge in the team that I see. And also in these times where you have to be very quick on your feet and very decisive, you really need a trusting team around you that can help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the third pillar that I see is building effective continuity. So continuity um, encompasses all facets of the organization. Is really one example could be effective succession planning, but continuity of the organization as a whole encompasses all departments and all stakeholders. So really, a big challenge of leaders that I do business with is and help them with is establishing that continuity to make sure that their organizations are going to be there and be successful and sustainable for the next 20, 30, 50 years. Um, so that's one of the challenge to build that continuity culture, because it's really um, a collection of different daily habits, from the person who's answering the phones to the board member, um, that creates this continuity culture that is all encompassing and gives a, um, a plan that is lasting in time for the companies. And I'm a fellow coaching consultant in the U.S. We had a conversation. His name is Mark Wamplington. He has his own consulting and coaching firm. He had a really good we had a really good chat a few weeks ago about this, and he shared something about I like the way that he described it about the organization being an organism, not an organization, where an organism has all the internal parts speaking with each other and
Mm-hmm.
coordinating, and nothing being able to live on its own, but all the parts together create that organism. Versus what happens oftentimes in organizations or companies are these silos that do not speak with each other and have a misconception that it's their little, let's say, a kingdom or castle and so on. So
True.
viewing it as an organism, as Mark mentioned, it was a really nice example and very relatable example.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Thank you for sharing. And I think that's where a lot of organization or organism struggle, because they tend to, build silos. They just focus on their own agenda, right? So, and I guess that what makes it, continuity more difficult. Like you said, it's one of the most challenging things that leaders has to face, right, to be able to build that effective continuity within the organization. And again, it's all about breaking silos, right, and
Yeah.
working together. You've mentioned several times earlier that how important teamwork is. So having said that, these top problems that you've mentioned, what do you believe will be the most important leadership capabilities or skills that you must have in the next normal to be able to continue to lead effectively?
Well, you really, the key is to be, in order to, uh, my belief in being a facilitator, in order to be an effective and a good facilitator, which facilitation for me is really leadership, is you have to be very, first of all, confident in that ability
Mm-hmm.
that, through facilitation, you don't need to be the star all the time, but you empower people. So, in order to do that effectively and to be comfortable in that role as a leader, You
Mhm.
have to be very confident in yourself and in a sort of solid, grounded way of confidence.
Mhm.
And that, in order to be a good facilitator, you know, some of the key skills are to be, uh, to be an extremely good listener in order to pick up what the real issues are, um, and not be and try to distill the noise from the real issues that are facing the company,
Mhm.
or the organization or the organism, as Mark says.
Mhm.
Um, so extremely good listening skills, being patient and finding the positive in things, and when you're going through a turmoil and a constant flux that we're going right now, um, and then being able to being versatile and instilling that versatility to the rest of the organization.
Mhm.
You have to be able to manage remote diverse teams, um, and be able to effectively communicate with those remote and diverse teams.
Mhm.
And to be honest, before this, I used to fly for like 5 hours just to have a 2 hour meeting and come back. So that was not healthy, but you know, but at the same time now, you can't see them for 4 months face to face. So you have to find other ways. Obviously, what we're doing now is one way. So we have the tools to succeed. We just have to learn to use them more effectively, and so listening, communication, being able to manage remote teams effectively.
Mhm.
Um, because one thing is while you're speaking on on a virtual meeting, and then there's another thing going on when you're off the meeting. So you have to find ways of measuring what is going on, and to communicate on frequent intervals in order to make sure that people are motivated, and still have the same goals. And really, goal definition and clear communication, is a key to success. So if you combine those with the management, the day-to-day management that you would be doing with your remote teams, um, it really comes down to how effectively you communicate and how effectively the mission is understood by everybody, and how can you get the pulse of the team and maintain that continuous pulse, even though you won't be physically meeting as often as you used to.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So what I get from there is like, the importance also of being able to lead a remote team in this new normal. And, part of that is being able to continuously communicate with them, which is one of the most important skills that you've mentioned. And I would say, the listening part, being patient and positive are all about the mindset, right? and
Mhm.
and the last one, or the last piece that you've mentioned, is basically to be able to adapt, or look into digital transformation now that for the last few months, like you've mentioned, or probably for some for years, that they're not able to see each other face to face, but rather they have to adapt and to leverage on technology, right? To
Yeah.
be able to continuously communicate with their stakeholders as well. So having said this, I mean, you've mentioned several times the importance of learning and leadership's role in it. And so what do you believe will be the role of learning leadership, which of course, um, in the end, we wanted transformation to be able to thrive, right? So what do you believe are the roles of learning leadership and transformation to be able to thrive in the next normal?
Yeah, I mean, continuous learning is key. Even if, I mean, I always embrace that philosophy anyway. But even if there's anybody in the, anybody in a leadership position that is not embracing it, I think, you just can't survive. I think if you're going to be very outdated very
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
True.
So continuous learning was always in the culture that I grew up in professionally, and I'm a strong believer. And since I've been mentoring and coaching for throughout my career, and now I'm doing it on a professional basis. Also, I really believe in the coaching style of management. And there's a really good book from Michael Bungay Stanier called The Coaching Habit. Say
Mm-hmm.
less, ask more, and change the way that you lead forever. Yeah, I had it noted somewhere. Yeah, the Coaching Habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever, by Michael Bungay Stanier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he really stresses in a very alive and good way,
Mm-hmm.
7 key questions that managers and leaders can ask their team members, that can help their leadership style be more coaching and facilitating versus just giving them the answers. Um, so, giving them the answers doesn't help them grow versus helping them grow and find their own answers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so key learning is extremely important. Continuous learning.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And like you've mentioned, and one of the key, aspects of leadership is being able to coach your team so that, they realize the right answers from themselves, right? So there's
Yes.
also accountability, I would say, having said that, right? Because the answers are coming from them. And these are ideas that, they think through.
Yeah, and they feel more ownership, and they motivation level increases, and they feel that they're part of something bigger as well, and they're contributing. And there's a lot of room for that,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time being within the vision and the goals of the grander organization, let's say. So, and I really truly believe in the power of small teams who are very motivated and very well connected and work with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very powerful to instill change in organizations. Yeah.
Yes, true. I totally agree with you on that. And I have the last two questions, which are, I would say, a Miss Universe question. My Miss Universe question. So I
I'm
have
not
to.
sure if my hair is right today for Miss Universe, but I'll try.
Yeah, yeah. So the first Miss Universe question I have is, if you have, a magic wand and can use it, what will you do?
Magic wand. Well, I mean, something that is very, dear to my heart is obviously I'm based in Cyprus. So one of the big problems of Cyprus the last 47 years is a third of the country is under occupation. So I would solve that. That would be the first things first. I would solve that first. And then from the business point of view, and in the conversation today and the leadership point of view, um, really, more open and trusting communication,
Mhm.
because there's so much time wasted when you don't have that. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Trusting communication. Okay. And the other question is, if you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what
Mhm.
would it be, and possibly, share with us why?
Well, it's really about effective leadership. And for me, effective leadership is really, what we've been talking about is
Mhm.
finding effective ways of helping people expand and grow,
Mhm.
and achieving the organization's vision and goals at the same time.
Mhm.
So yeah, for me, that would be it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer. Short and sweet, I would say. So, before we end this, is there anything more that you'd like to share with our audience and with those who will be able to watch our interview?
I mean, this is a great opportunity and great initiative that you're creating here. And as far as leadership is, it's about a facilitation process. So trust that facilitation process and manage it and help your people grow and expand. And everybody's going to be better off, and the company and the organization or whatever your goal is going to be better off through this facilitation process. So
True.
thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, yes. And I thank you really, Stephanos, for your amazing sharing, insightful and very direct, I would say. You've raised a lot of important keys to be able to facilitate or to lead a team or an organization. And for that, I thank you for sharing that with us. And I also thank everyone who's watching right now. And I hope you can join us in a whole year of learning, networking, and other interventions similar to this. And you can find out more in the link that you can see scrolling down below. And with that, I'd like to end this interview with a quote from Dolly Parton that if your actions create legacy that inspires others to dream more, to learn more, and to do more and become more, then you are an excellent leader. And thank you for being an excellent leader and for sharing with us all those experiences and key takeaways from your experience, Stephanos.
Thank you, Marilyn.